Time now to share the latest results from our quarterly Arkansas Consumer Confidence Report. This is a statewide survey we conduct to gauge attitudes on jobs, economic conditions, and consumer spending. It's mirrored off the National Consumer Confidence Survey. On Thursday, June 9th, we surveyed 554 Arkansans by phone to ask our questions. And here are a few top-line results. Our first question, how would you describe your personal financial situation? Are you better off financially, worse off, or about the same as you were 6 months ago? Just 10% said better off, 42% said worse off, and 48% said about the same. 3 months ago, 11% said that they were better off, 34.5% said worse off, and 54.5% said about the same. So you can see some worsening attitudes there. How would you describe current job conditions where you live? Just 9% said that they are plentiful. 76% said jobs are hard to find, and 15% said they don't know. 3 months ago, just 6% said jobs were plentiful, while 69.5% said they were hard to find, and 24.5% said they don't know. Do you think you'll be spending more money or less money for goods and services in the next 6 months? Only 17% said they'd be spending more. 50.5% said they'd spend less. 32.5% said about the same. 3 months ago, 41% said they'd spend more. 29% said they'd spend less, and 30% said about the same. We asked why. Why will you be spending more? 60.5% said it was because items will cost more, or in other words, inflation. Why will you be spending less? 57% said to conserve money. 4% said because they think items will cost less. 9% said they just made a major purchase or repair, and 30% cited another reason. Finally, we asked about gas prices, which are averaging about $1 higher than this time last year. Are higher gas prices affecting your spending beyond fuel purchases? 69% said yes. Higher gas prices have made them think about other areas of their spending. 21% said no, higher gas prices have not substantially changed their spending habits, and 9% said they don't know. And there's much more to this polling data that you can crawl through, and I invite you to view the entire results on our website at talkbusiness.net. That's www.talkbusiness.net for the latest Arkansas Consumer Confidence Report. Joining me now to talk more in depth on these results is French Hill. He's a former George H.W. Bush economic advisor, and he's the president CEO of Delta Trust and Bank. French, it's good of you to be with us.
Great to see you, sir.
Our latest Arkansas Consumer Confidence Report paints a pretty pessimistic picture. What would you write as the headline for this latest survey if you were in the newspaper or television news business?
Gas prices affect consumer behavior.
And take that a step further, French. Why is that the predominant storyline in this survey?
Well, Roby, in your spring report back in March, you took the idea that when you saw that people were spending more money, it raised your curiosity, and this time around you asked the question, why? And we found out that they're spending more money because things cost more. And when you bear down on that even further and say, well, if you were to spend less, why would you spend less? It was 60% said because of higher gas prices.
Tell me what you think this does to consumers psychologically when they're dealing with these higher gas prices. I mean, $1 higher than a year ago. Does it really register with them, or is it something that you think kind of creeps into their life?
No, I think it hits pretty hard. It's like a tax. It's like a consumer tax straight away on American families. And when you looked at earnings reports in May for the big retailers like Lowe's and Walmart, what you saw is people were consolidating trips to Walmart because of higher gas prices. Lowe's reported lower earnings directly because of that $1 extra in gas prices this spring over last spring.
Yeah, and we also saw in the latest state revenue report the potential impact of higher gas prices on consumer spending. Now, French, another big change in this survey, and it is related to higher gas prices, is when we look at predictions of where future spending might go over the next 6 months. A quarter ago, 41% said they plan to spend more in the next 6 months. This week, this quarter, just 17% say they're going to spend more money. That is a huge swing in a 3-month period. Why do you think that is?
I think people's budgets are under real pressure, and they just don't have the extra money to think in the future they're going to be able to spend more due to higher prices for food. We see the inflation rate under control when you back out food and energy, but the average family is completely affected by their food and energy bills.
Well, what do you think happened in the last 3 months since our last survey that would make that fall off so pronounced?
Well, my judgment is that those higher costs are causing people to want to save more. They're pessimistic about the job picture. They're pessimistic about the economy, and it's just they're hunkered down. But the direct effect, I think, is higher costs at the grocery store and at the gas pump.
We also saw in this latest report that job conditions, job prospects remain pretty weak. Do you think it's really that bad out there?
Well, it's ironic that in the week that you went into the field for this poll, that the Conference Board also announced the highest online job ad index since before the recession, with over 4.5 million online job postings out there around the country. So the job market has improved. We've created jobs. The unemployment rate, while it went up in May, has been trending and bouncing in a better range, a little improvement, but people aren't feeling it. And in my view, the reason for that is lack of labor mobility due to the housing crisis.
Explain that a little deeper. What do you mean by lack of labor mobility?
Well, if you are in foreclosure or if you've lost the home equity that you had in your home, then you're going to be reluctant to move to another state that has better job prospects. And we've never had a recession of this magnitude, ever, that's been led by a housing collapse. Housing led us into this recession, and so it certainly won't lead us out. And that is really creating a crimp in American families' ability to move from a weak state like Nevada or California to Texas to find a job, or to Arkansas, where our economy is significantly better than in Florida or Nevada or Arizona or California. And housing is a big boat anchor on that labor mobility.
Well, French, you're a student of history, especially economic history. Is that why you think this recession's different than previous ones?
Well, all recessions are painful, but this one is painful for the consumer. Sometimes we'll have a recession that's created by higher interest rates, like in 1980 when Paul Volcker wanted to drive inflation out of the system, and we had a rough period between 1980 and 1983. That was an interest rate-induced recession on purpose. Let's drive inflation out of the system. The economy bounced back very quickly from that through Reagan's economic policies, and normal economic activity bounced back. Early 90s, commercial real estate, very locally focused in the East Coast and the West Coast. But this recession was nationwide, was driven by a sinking in personal residence prices, and that's what has really hurt us. And it could be 2 or 3 more years before we see any strong recovery in housing construction and housing sales and all the things that go with it. Retailing of carpet, furniture, shingles, all that goes into the employment picture right now, and the lack of labor mobility.
What do you think it's going to take to change consumer attitudes? When you look at this latest report, you've got a very pessimistic consumer, and it's a lot deeper than just getting in a different frame of mind, don't you think?
Right. Good point. I mean, we saw no improvement whatsoever from your spring confidence survey to this early summer confidence survey, either in Arkansas or nationally, about the state of the economy and the mood. In fact, when asked who said that business conditions nationally were good, your survey said 3%. I mean, as you've pointed out, the margin of error in a survey, I mean, it could be a negative number. And that's very troubling, considering that the American capitalist system is built on opportunity, optimism. John Maynard Keynes called it the animal spirits of the American business person who gets out there every day and makes something happen. So I think that pessimism is triggered by lack of confidence in the federal government on regulatory policy, on policies to incent investment and job creation and the cost of job creation. even the impact on the negative impact by regulations on even doing an initial public offering, an IPO, which drove the animal spirits of American business back in the late 1980s during the Clinton administration.
Yeah, you mean the late 1990s?
90s,
yeah.
pardon.
Let's look at this last quarter. Corporate profitability, pretty strong. We're not going in a negative direction on jobs, as we talked about earlier. Gross domestic product on the rise, according to the latest figures. Why are we not seeing better economic attitudes? Because to me, we don't seem to be poised to fall off a cliff statistically, but psychologically, it seems like we're about to.
No, I do not believe that we will have a double-dip recession. I do not believe that our economy is going to, quote, fall off a cliff. But we don't have that attitudinal adjustment that is even mirroring some of the good things that have happened in the economy. We've had increasing orders. They've flattened out. We've had a robust increase in the last couple of years in manufactured goods and exports. They have flattened out a bit. Just because a statistic flattens out does not mean that we're going to go into a double dip. The sell-off in the stock markets in the last couple of weeks certainly is a bearish indicator from a leading economic indicator point of view, and that's contributed, I think, to this malaise view that you're picking up in your survey, because people know the stock market is a early warning canary of future conditions in the economy.
All right, friends, tell me how you're going to take this latest Arkansas Consumer Confidence Report and use it in your banking business.
Right. Well, we take them and we use them with our loan officer staff and our deposit staff, and actually go out and talk to our customers about them and see how they react to them. Just yesterday, we asked all of our lenders, what are you seeing when you talk to your customers? And everyone comes back with the same response. Things are going along, but they're not getting any robust growth. They're just holding their own. They're doing a little bit better, certainly better than the height of the crisis in the fourth quarter of 2008, early 2009, but they're not seeing any big increase in economic activity.